not just an honor, but it is a privilege that I don't take for granted. So I've been invited here today to come and speak to each and every one of you. I'd like each and every one of you to warmly welcome the people that are beside you. The person on your right, for instance, should please welcome that leader. Welcome the person on your left, who is an achiever. Welcome the person behind you, who is a powerful aspirant. The person in front of you, who is a game changer. And the person further forward, who is an influencer. And the person further backward, who is a decision maker. You'll notice that all of these qualities form the virtues of a leader. I believe that if you're not yet leaders, you are going to be leaders. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this room right now. I will be narrowing my discourse today to the area of business leadership. But I believe that you can adapt that to any kind of area of life and adapt it to what leadership is all about. I'll begin by sharing a bit about my background. I will go on to tell you why I was motivated to get into business. I'll go on to discuss my experiences in high-level competition. And I will talk about the areas where I faced challenges and where I was successful. And then I will end with my ingredients for success. I hope you'll adopt it. So why business? How did I get into business? Why did I choose business? I come from a very large family of 52 children. I'm child number 8. And it's a family that is of a business background, entrepreneurs specifically. And my parents were very successful in that area. And they didn't soil their hands in being successful, in getting to become successful. And I said to myself that I'd like to borrow from that. I'd like to be an entrepreneur myself. And I'd like to make a huge success of it. And that's how I started thinking about getting involved in business. And how did I get started in that? When I was working in a bank, and I did work in that bank for about 12 years, in my leisure, I would travel at weekends abroad to buy things that I could sell to my friends. I made quite a bit of money as a young woman, and I remember that when the indigenization decree came to Nigeria, I wasn't spending my salary at all. I had enough money to be able to buy plenty of shares during the indigenization decree era. I decided to follow my passion after that. I went to study fashion design. I left the bank after 12 years, came back to England, having schooled in England for about 4 years as a young girl. And I studied fashion design, and I went back to Nigeria to set up my business. As I launched my label, I was invited to take part in a competition. And that was 3 weeks after I launched my label. And I became the national winner of that competition. And what were my experiences? Some of my best experiences and some of my worst experiences as a young woman who had just started out doing more business. I was adventurous, but I was thorough. When I started out that fashion business, it was quite challenging, but it was rewarding. Can you imagine facing challenges and challenges and challenges, and there weren't any rewards? If there weren't any rewards, how would you want to feel like, getting on with it? So the rewards were good, and my business was named Supreme Stitches. I'm in the habit of, when I set up a business, I want the name of the business to depict what it does and how it does it. So that's how I came up with the name Supreme Stitches. So I was the designer of the year 1986 to 1987, and that brought me into the limelight because it was organized by the major newspaper in Nigeria at the time, and I was publicized all over the country. I would ask how many people at any time would be willing to compete. Usually, many would have the fear of getting into a competition, the fear of failure, the fear of what would happen if they were to fail and fall flat on their faces. So many would shy away from competition, but that wasn't the Folorunso I knew. I welcomed challenges. I looked forward to challenges. Even up till this day, I thrive on it. A leader would need to be a risk taker. And that was something I loved to do. So that was there was another good experience I got. When we were able to obtain our license to explore for oil in Nigeria. It took 3 years from the date of our first application to getting the license itself. And then, if I look backwards, calculating from the date of the first application to the dates that we hit first oil and oil in commercial quantity, it took 15 solid years. Many would have given up. 15 years we had to wait for that opportunity to come along, to be able to say we won. So that was a good experience. And it was also one of the best times of my life to note that it wasn't for failure after all. How many were willing to wait that long? How many would be willing to take such risks? You spent 15 years, you put in your life savings, you put in your energy and all efforts, and you hit a dry hole. That would have been rewarding, would it have been? No, absolutely not. So when first oil came along and it was a hit, of course, we went to town and we praised God. But it can't all be win-win all the time. Sometimes you face bad experiences. And I'd like to talk about some of my bad experiences. Like, we all face at one point in time as human beings. We make mistakes. I make mistakes too. One of them was my disobedience to God. When he told me to go into a particular area of printing, when I'd asked him, Lord, what next? And he had showed it to me in a dream. But instead of going into the offset printing that he showed me, I went into large format printing because it seemed to be the wave of the moment. And I thought, printing is printing, not realizing that there's a huge difference in one type of printing to the next type of printing. However, what happened after that was that the government of Lagos State, where we are as a business, clamped down on large format products, billboards, roll-up banners. The billboards, the government said, oh, it's littering the face of Lagos. We don't want that anymore. So naturally, it affected our business. So we lost revenue. We lost a lot of revenue. And every leader needs to be led. Whether you're led by your gut feelings or you're led by your instincts. I was led by my God. So whichever way you choose to be led, I believe that leaders also need that leading. As an entrepreneur, some other traits you will need to develop in the business environment, apart from being a risk taker, are doggedness, diligence, and not shying away from being a failure. You'll find that being a failure could strengthen you in the long run. So I encourage you, don't run away from it. Setbacks will always come because we don't have full proof of anything. And that's what we did at our business. We bought new machines that will be reflective and help us in the kind of printing we were supposed to get involved in the first place. Today, that printing company, our printing company, has carved a niche for itself and has become one of the third foremost, largest, best printing companies in Nigeria. We're one of the top players in the industry, and we're very well known for our quality. In fact, we're number one in quality in Nigeria. And if I ask myself, what are some of the experiences of high-level competition? It takes me back to what I talked about earlier, being the designer of the year. I had to face a lot of challenges. I was new in the industry. I'd just come back from England, where I went to study fashion design, and I set up shop. As I set up shop, I was invited to this competition. I found that I was competing with fashion designers and fashion houses who had been in the business for years. And some had even been part of the competition 2 or 3 times before that. But I was getting into that competition for the first time. I had to think of very good designs that would be attractive to the wearer. I had to look for models, and I had to do a lot of hard work and sleepless nights over that 3-week period. But guess what? As I said earlier, I won that competition, and I was carrying that cup in my hand. After that hard work, competition is good. It will tell you where you stand within the environment, within society, and within competition itself. I remember that I had a lot of admirers right from that time forward. As I said, it brought me into the limelight, not just in Nigeria, but it also exposed me and my business internationally. However, I had a team of committed staff. We worked very hard, and our efforts were obviously crowned. And why do I say we? Because one person cannot be the only person who is working to be able to succeed at all times. It's duty of the leader to get work done and get it done through others and be the team leader. So a leader needs to be a team leader in every aspect. And I define a leader as a visionary that is saddled with responsibilities to direct, to inspire, to encourage, to mentor, and influence those that she's leading towards a goal. When you put all those ingredients together, more often than not, it's usually successful. Leadership entails ensuring that assigned tasks are done properly and within the agreed parameters of service delivery or specification. You can almost liken it to what we all know what SMART means, but I'll tell you again. SMART for specific, M for measurable, A for actionable, R for relevant, and T for time-bound. So I'd like to relate it to that. Leaders and leadership needs that acronym to be able to get going. If the task was done poorly, a leader must learn to take responsibility. It shouldn't be a matter of when everything's hunky-dory and everything's successful, and then you just want to take the accolades. No. You have to be able to take responsibility when the chips are down. You're saddled with the responsibility of being the visioneer by seeing ahead of your pack. You may not have the highest technical knowledge in your endeavor, but you still have to develop a keen sight to spot trends, to see an opportunity, and to know when to identify a downturn that's looming and know it before it actually hits. Those are some of the qualities of leaders. Now, getting to and remaining at the top of fashion and the fashion industry was not easy. It took hard work and those sleepless nights that I talked about. There were times when I would be abroad and I would need to be able to relate with my staff. Those days, 20-something years ago, I don't think we had Skype. If we did, I didn't know how to use it. And we don't have the social media that we have now. And the kind of telecommunications and communications tools that we have today. We have fax machines, to the best of my knowledge. I would design the next design for the next client. I would have cut swatches of the fabrics that they're brought to my showroom for me to design for them. And I would be sending those by fax. And I would be phoning in to my staff to describe what the design is. It was tedious, but because it was my passion, I enjoyed every minute of it. So, there were no WhatsApps. You guys are enjoying today. Sometimes we made designs that were instant hits, and sometimes we made designs that nobody wanted, that would hang there and we'd end up having to put on sale. I remember that one of my failures was that I opened a shop in a highbrow area of Lagos State. I hadn't learned then to ask God for how to do this, how to do that, before I did it. But guess what? I ended up having to close it. After a while, I had to give up. I tried my best, but it wasn't working. Having mentioned failure, let me quickly plead with you not to waste any failures. You have a lot to learn from your failures. Usually, they don't come cheap. I'm sure you've heard that ignorance is expensive. In likewise manner, failure is expensive. So don't run away from it. Don't be sorrowful and walk away. Think back, look back, decipher it, and try and figure out where you went wrong, and learn from the mistakes that you made. Learn to dissociate the emotions from the facts of the matter, and review all events that surrounded your failure. So we need to retrace our steps to decipher when and where we went wrong, so that we won't follow the same route next time. One of my traits is that I'm a fighter, and I don't give up. I will keep on at it until I succeed. Unfortunately, I had to give up on the shop because I rented it. It wasn't my premises, and the money was being wasted because the clothes just weren't being bought. It was supposed to be off the rack, but I found that Nigerians at the time preferred haute couture, which was what I was very good in. So I retraced my steps and carried on with my haute couture, and the rest, they say, is history. So these were tough times, and tough times don't last. They have a season. They come and they go. Hang in there, stick to it, and you'll find a way out, especially if you pray about it. Now, doing business in Nigeria, what would I say stands out for me? What would I say stands out for me? One striking comparative experience of doing business in Africa and globally, especially in Nigeria and in Africa, is that there are advantages and there are disadvantages, and there are challenges. I believe that the challenges would give birth to the opportunities, so long as you don't run away from the challenges. In fact, I would say that the Blue Ocean strategy works perfectly there. When you see a challenge and you come up with a strategy, most of the time the strategy, if it's a blue ocean one, would work. And you would have gone ahead of your peers and your competitors before they know what is happening. The advantages, I think, are blessings in disguise. And if you're ready to give it what it takes, you will succeed. If you're willing to adopt a new strategy that you believe in your spirit or that you're God-led into, you will succeed. However, Nigeria and Africa still have a lot of catching up to do, especially in the areas of access to finance, in the areas of entrepreneurship, lack of infrastructure. Power is a major setback that we're still struggling with. Transportation is an area we're still struggling with. And telecommunications is an area that we're still struggling with. It's expensive to do business in Africa, unlike other developed countries. But I believe that other developed countries had their teething problems at some point or other too. We're going through anti-teething problems. And those who are now developed didn't run away from their challenges. They faced it, just as we have to face ours to make it work. However, what it takes to be an entrepreneur is still universal. You must be able to see those opportunities and be willing to go the extra mile. A leader needs to be able to go the extra mile and not throw their arms up in the air the minute you see a challenge. Finally, I'd like to leave my ingredients for success with you, the ingredients that have worked for me over the years as a woman and as an entrepreneur, and even in the area of leadership. It has stood the test of time for my life, and I believe that it can work for anyone aspiring to become a leader. So the way I would spell my ingredients is S for seek God at all times. Believe in God. He has always guided me, and I've always believed in him, and he has always helped me. You, I attribute to utilize your time and talent wisely, because time lost can never be regained. C, consistently focus towards your goal, because when the going gets tough, it's the tough that get going. The other C, credibility and reliability must be your watchword, because people are irresponsible, get ignored. E, educate yourself and keep training and retraining yourself. Ignorance is expensive. S, say no to discouragement agents. When we had to take our government to court, there were many who said, "What? You want to take your government to court? You will lose. Who has ever won?" But it took us 12 years in court with the government. And at the end of the day, we won, and we're still standing in our oil business. S, sacrifice daily by going the extra mile. Thank you for listening. God bless you.